The rain poured mercilessly, blurring the streetlights into streaks of gold. People rushed by under umbrellas, unwilling to slow down. But then a loud thud echoed through the storm. A woman, visibly pregnant, collapsed onto the wet pavement. Cars sped past her, no one stopped. No one except one man. That man was Daniel, a single dad with a little girl asleep in the back seat. What he didn't know was that this moment, this choice to stop, would reopen a door he thought had been closed forever. Daniel Harper wasn't the kind of man who ignored people in need. But tonight, after a long day of delivering packages and taking care of his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, all he wanted was to get home, dry off, and rest. The rain was relentless, the streets nearly empty. As he turned down the quiet avenue toward his apartment, he saw a figure stumble near the bus stop. At first, he thought it was just someone trying to find cover until she collapsed. His heart dropped. Without a second thought, Daniel slammed on the brakes. "Stay here, sweetheart," he whispered to Lily, who stirred but didn't wake. He jumped out of the car, rain soaking him instantly. "Hey! Are you okay?" he shouted, kneeling beside her. The woman was trembling, soaked to the bone, her face pale. She clutched her stomach, and that's when he realized she was heavily pregnant. Her lips quivered. "Please, help me." Daniel's instincts kicked in. He lifted her gently and carried her to his car. When he opened the door, Lily blinked awake. "Daddy, who's that?" Daniel forced a calm smile. "Someone who needs our help, baby." As Daniel drove toward the nearest hospital, the woman's breathing grew uneven. He tried to keep her talking, worried she'd lose consciousness. "What's your name?" he asked. Sarah," she whispered weakly. "I was going to the shelter, but the rain." Her voice broke. Tears mixed with rain on her cheeks. "You're safe now," Daniel assured. "We'll get you help. Just hang on." Lily leaned forward from her booster seat, her small voice full of concern. "It's okay, miss. My daddy always helps people." A faint smile touched Sarah's lips. You have a good daddy." Daniel's grip on the steering wheel tightened. "I try," he said softly. "Her mom passed away a few years ago. It's just us now." There was silence for a moment, the kind that carried understanding. Two lives, both scarred by loss, colliding in the storm. When they reached the hospital, Daniel helped Sarah inside. Doctors rushed to take her to maternity emergency care. He stayed behind with Lily, pacing the hallway, soaked and shivering but unwilling to leave. Hours passed. Lily had fallen asleep on the waiting room chair, her head resting on Daniel's jacket. He watched the doors anxiously until a nurse finally approached. "She's stable now," the nurse said kindly. "We're keeping her overnight for observation." "You really saved her life and possibly her baby's too." Daniel exhaled in relief. "Can I see her?" When he entered Sarah's room, she looked tired but peaceful. Her hands rested protectively on her belly. "You stayed," she said softly. "Of course," he replied. "I wasn't going to just leave you here." Her eyes filled with tears. "I didn't think anyone would stop. Everyone just kept walking." "Thank you." "Daniel, right?" He nodded. "Yeah. Daniel Harper." A small pause. Then, unexpectedly, Sarah's expression shifted, recognition flickering in her eyes. "Harper," she whispered. "Are you from Brookville?" Daniel froze. "Yes, how do you?" Her voice trembled. "Oh my God. Daniel, it's me. Sarah Miller." The name hit him like lightning. Sarah Miller, his ex-fiancée. The woman he once planned to marry 7 years ago, until life tore them apart. Daniel could barely speak. "Sarah? But, how? Where have you been all these years?" Tears streamed down her face. "After we broke off the engagement, I moved away. My mom was sick, and everything fell apart. I always wanted to reach out, but I didn't know how. I thought you had moved on." Daniel swallowed hard. I never forgot you. But then Emily, he stopped, eyes lowering. My wife, she got sick not long after Lily was born. Sarah's face softened with sorrow. I'm so sorry. They sat in silence, the weight of shared memories filling the room. Then Sarah looked down at her belly. The baby's father left when he found out I was pregnant. I had no one. I was heading to a shelter tonight because I couldn't afford the rent anymore. Daniel's heart twisted. You don't deserve that. You've always been the kindest person I knew. Her eyes met his. And you've always had the biggest heart. Outside, the rain had stopped. A faint morning light crept through the window. Over the next few days, Daniel and Lily visited Sarah often. Lily brought her drawings and stories, filling Sarah's hospital room with laughter. When Sarah was discharged, Daniel insisted on driving her home only to learn she didn't have one anymore. Then you're not sleeping in a shelter, he said firmly. You can stay with us until you're back on your feet. Sarah hesitated, pride and gratitude warring inside her. But the warmth in Lily's hopeful eyes melted her defenses. Okay, she whispered. What started as a kind gesture soon grew into something deeper. They shared meals, stories, and quiet nights where Daniel would make tea and Sarah would hum lullabies for Lily. Slowly, the pain of the past healed. One evening, as Sarah felt her baby kick, Daniel placed a hand on her belly, smiling softly. Feel strong, he said. Sarah looked at him, her eyes shimmering. Thank you, for being there when no one else was. He shook his head. You saved me too, Sarah. I didn't realize how lonely I'd become until you came back. Months later, on a bright spring morning, Sarah gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Daniel was right there beside her, holding her hand. As the nurse handed her the baby, Sarah looked at Daniel through tears. You weren't just a stranger who stopped for me that night, she whispered. You were the person fate sent back into my life. He smiled through tears. And maybe this time, I won't let you go. Lily peeked into the room, grinning. Daddy, can we keep her and the baby forever? Everyone laughed, but in that laughter was something sacred, a promise of new beginnings. The rain that once symbolized loneliness had led them to a new family, built not by blood alone but by kindness, compassion, and fate's quiet hand.